I just finished my first playthrough of Hollow Knight, and I'm convinced that 75% of the charms are either completely broken or completely useless. And now I've collected 30 charms, got lost more times than I can count, and somehow made it through the entire game. So today I'm ranking every single charm based on what actually helped me in my first playthrough and what absolutely did not. Getting 75% of the charms definitely feels like a passing grade, and I can't wait to go back and do my 112% playthrough, even if I don't understand how that is mathematically possible. If you're doing your first playthrough like me, drop a like right now and let me know in the comments which charm you're most excited to hear about. The Wayward Compass. For some people, this is going to be the hottest take, but the Wayward Compass is by far the best charm in the game for new players. I totally understand that veterans who can memorize maps will throw this in F tier because you don't need it at all. But players like me with barely 20 to 30 hours of this game who still can't find their way around, it's absolutely necessary. For only about 220 geo, you can get it from Izelda, and you can see wherever you're at on the map, and this goes straight into S tier. On the other hand, we have Gathering Swarm. It only takes one notch. It allows you to collect geo at a further range. I tried using it, and even with Fragile Greed, it still felt like a waste of a slot. I could already pick up almost every geo I wanted without much issue. I'd rather put that slot towards extra damage or having an extra notch for anything else. F tier for me personally. Stalwart Shell. When actually doing research for this charm, I learned that it reduces the hit recoil from enemies by 60% when they touch you and gives you a bit of invincibility frames. The recoil reduction is pretty noticeable, and for 2 notches, it doesn't feel like something I would regularly use, but if I was doing a speedrun or challenge run, I could absolutely see why people would use this. It's a solid C tier charm. Soul Catcher. This is easily one of my favorite charms in the entire game. After reading comments on my review, I found out it doesn't give you double soul per hit, which discouraged me a bit at first. A lot of people apparently put it at the bottom of their tier list because it's straight booty cheeks. But I genuinely don't see how. On my first playthrough, I was getting hit by spikes constantly, so the extra soul regen while adventuring just felt great. And for 2 charm notches for more spells, better healing, is one of the best things. I put it in a solid A tier. The Shaman Stone takes 3 notches, which feels like a huge resource drain. However, it increases your spell damage, depending on the spell, 33 to up to 51%. You can one-shot certain enemies and do massive damage from bosses from safe distances. Just like the Soul Catcher, it pairs amazingly for spell-focused players. High A tier at the very least, and great for killing bosses, but it comes down to whether you have the skill to cast spells without getting hit. Now, Dash Master is one of those charms that gets overlooked by many, at least I would assume so. I only used it in 2 fights, Hornet 2 and the Watcher Knights. It makes your dash recharge 33% faster and lets you dash forward and dash downward. I barely noticed any improvements and almost never found a reason to dash downward. Overall, I'd put this in low D tier, almost F, because there's just no reason to take 1 charm slot for slightly faster dashes. The Sprint Master, on the other hand, increases your run speed by 20%, and you can easily feel the difference when running around. For only 1 notch, this is one of the best things you can equip, especially when learning new boss fights. It's not necessarily the strongest for damage or staying alive, but that extra speed helps you dodge so much, and pairing it with Dash Master allows you to learn bosses easier. I definitely would put this in a solid B tier. Also, let's be honest, how many times did you die because you were too slow at reacting to a boss? Grub Song might not be the most useful charm, but for 1 notch you can gain a little extra soul every time you get hit, and before you have access to things like Hive Blood, it really feels useful in tight corridors. I could essentially get enough soul after 2 hits to heal 1 mask, and I put this in high B tier for adventuring. It's not super reliable, but it definitely makes early and mid-game adventuring insanely easy. Fragile Strength, Heart, and Greed. I'm going to do these three together. Fragile Strength gives a 50% damage boost with your nail for 3 notches, and it's insane. But I much rather would run the Shaman Stone to spam spells, and I definitely put this in low D tier, maybe even F tier at that point. Fragile Heart gives 2 extra mass. The only time I wanted to use this was during bosses, but I knew that if I ended up dying, I'd have to pay for another one and go way out of my way to get it again. And for the same price, I could easily run something like Lifeblood Heart, which gives the same 2 mass and doesn't need to be repaired. Fragile Greed is one of the best charms in the game that I actually enjoyed. Once you reach a certain point in the game, you're extremely poor, and everything is so damn expensive in the Kingdom of Dirtmouth. With Fragile Greed, enemies can drop 20 to 100% more Geo, which is a godsend item, especially when you take it into some of the later game farming spots. It saved me at least 2 or 3 hours of grinding enemies. The repairing part of all of these suck, but I overall think it is an S tier, and it's worth its weight in gold compared to the others. The repairing part sucks on Fragile Strength, Heart, and Greed, but overall, each of them have their own unique uses, but I only found Fragile Greed the best, which puts that in S tier. Fury of the Fallen costs 2 notches and increases damage by 75%, which is absolutely crazy. Pairing it with something like Fragile Strength is an insane strategy for God tier gamers. The only issue is that it activates at 1 HP. I never ended up using it the moment I learned that, because I knew that I was going to die. It's insanely strong for speedrunners and skilled players, but for new players like me or new players like you, the fear of resetting at bosses just to get 75% extra damage wasn't worth it. I would easily give this a D tier. Mark of Pride has got to be one of my favorite charms in the game, and not because of its ability, but because of the story behind it. You get this after defeating the Mantis Lords, proving yourself a worthy adversary. It increases your nail length by 25%, which is huge in this game where you have to get up close and personal with everything. But for 3 notches, I just don't think it's that strong. I actually will give this 2 ratings, S tier for story and B tier for usefulness. And on the other hand, there's Long Nail, a cheaper version that only increases your nail range by 15%, and we all know bigger is better. I loved it when I first bought it from Sly, but over time I realized I could get more value from other charms like Sprint Master and keeping an extra slot. It just helped me learn bosses and do extra damage early on, but overall towards middle and late game, I definitely felt that it fell off. D tier at best. Quick Slash is an extremely expensive 3-notch charm, but I think it's one of the best if you're trying to blitz through fights. Being able to hit almost twice as fast feels amazing. It carried me through some of the boss fights and made me feel like an absolute top tier player when I could get 2 or 3 extra hits during attack windows. Absolutely high A tier. And pairing it with charms that increase your nail damage, all the better. Now on the other hand, Heavy Blow has got to be the worst charm in the game by far. For 2 notches, it knocks enemies slightly further back. Outside of the parkour areas, I found almost 0 use for it because I just wanted to kill the mother truckers. If I'm missing something, please comment below, but I think it's straight booty cheeks, F tier alongside the worst charms. 0 use and could probably be removed and nobody would care. Now here's Steady Body, which is only a 1-notch charm, and when paired with Quick Slash, it can become an absolute menace. You can hit things up to quadruple the normal amount because of no knockback on yourself. I really feel like this is a great charm earlier on, but you can easily replace it with spell charms or summon charms later on. B tier. The Spell Twister. I haven't fought the Radiance yet, but I plan on using this mixed with other mage charms. Spell Twister makes spells slightly cheaper so you can fire them off easier. For 3 notches, it pretty much doubles your spell damage output by being able to spam more spells, and I think that the idea behind this is an absolute S tier charm. Thorns of Agony is an early game charm I got a lot of use out. Especially in boss fights, being able to damage foes while healing feels great, and it helps make up for your mistakes. I took this off towards the middle of the game. I don't know how much damage it actually did to the bosses, but even if it is comparable to my own nail, it definitely felt pretty good. Boulder Shell is one of those charms that I thought was going to be one of the best charms in the game. Being able to heal with a shield around you that stops you from taking damage sounded absolutely amazing. But every time I decided to use it, I learned that, yeah, you can heal from normal mobs, but if something like a Mantis Lord decides to hit you, you're just done. It doesn't matter. It stops your healing, you've wasted your soul, and on top of that, you're most likely going to get hit because you're in a worse position than just running around and dodging. Definitely F tier for me. The Defender's Crest, or what I like to call the Dung Defender's Medal, emits a small AoE aura, which isn't really that useful unless paired with other things like Spore Shroom, but because I love the character so much and I get to run around making giant fart clouds around me, I absolutely love this charm. And for aura alone, it's S tier, and you cannot disrespect the Dung Brother. And if you've made it this far, I already know you've disagreed with at least one of my rankings. And I want to know which hot takes that made your bug blood boil. Glowing Womb felt absolutely busted at first when paired with Spore Shroom and the Defender's Crest. The issue is you can't control when the babies spawn, and they got me killed so many times. Managing Soul with auto-summoning drones that you can't cancel their attacks feels horrendous. The damage output is great and can leave spore and dung clouds around the enemies, but overall I would put it at C tier. Make sure to watch where your soul is going. Quick Focus is an absolute menace, a busted charm for faster healing. But for 3 notches, I don't ever feel like I want to run it. I'd much rather have a damage charm instead of this. Yes, it makes recovering mistakes easier during boss fights, but a lot of the times there's certain boss fights where there's just a better option of not getting hit. Definitely middle of the line C tier for me. I just never really found an opportunity to use it. Lifeblood Heart was mentioned earlier in this video, and it's a fine early charm that gives you 2 extra masks for 2 notches. It's a good swap when fighting bosses, but it definitely falls off later. But I can say the extra life bar does make a difference when you're trying to learn patterns. And it's another one of those charms I definitely have to give 2 ratings. If it's all you have for bosses at that time, absolutely a B tier charm. But if you have other charms, it's literally a D tier charm. Lifeblood Core grants 3 blue masks. It's top tier, but the same issue with the last charm we talked about. You can't really regenerate them, and it only gives you a couple more hits. Easily a C tier charm, unless you plan on overcharming, but I still would prefer to overcharm something like Hive Blood so it can regen my own HP. Alright, we've made it a little past the middle of the video, and I want to say if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below for more RPG content. Joni's Blessing is a really weird charm. It costs a ridiculous 4 notches to increase your HP by 40%. And when overcharming, it doesn't really feel that good because you can't regen easily and have to run something like Hive Blood. And on top of that, if you're overcharmed, you take double damage. To me, it's a low D tier and almost no point in using it. Why would I want to run something that I can't heal with? Hive Blood is definitely one of my favorite charms to overcharm with. It pairs extremely well with whatever build you're doing. It doesn't give extra HP, but it regens 1 mask every 13 seconds. But when overcharmed, you do take double damage. But if you're decent enough, you can dodge for 26 seconds and get your masks back. And heal. It's honestly low A tier because of a skill issue on my part for not loving the fact you usually have to overcharm this charm. Spore Shroom is an absolute S tier charm. Creating a giant cloud of spores that damage all enemies is so good. 1 heal can do multiple nails hits worth of damage to a boss because of how large they are. You literally should not be fighting bosses without it. 1 heal is just an insane amount of extra damage. Now, Sharp Shadow is another really cool charm. Doing damage while dashing is crazily good, especially if you're learning a boss for its patterns. And pairing it with something like Hive Blood means you can literally just run around, dodge attacks, and just keep attacking without actually attacking. Definitely a high A tier charm. The Shape of Un. I've never used this because honestly, I was scared of it. As I'm writing the script, I'm easily putting it in an F tier, but apparently all it does is allow you to move while healing, and I just never saw any use in that, because if you're gonna heal, and even at a slower rate of movement, you're gonna end up getting hit. The Dream Shield might be one of the worst charms in the game. I used it in multiple boss fights and never noticed it blocking projectiles or doing the extra damage that it claims it do. It does. There's no way I'm spending 3 notches on something that did nothing for me. F tier, but almost D tier because I did see it block one thing. If you made it this far into my tier list, thank you so much. And if you enjoyed this content, make sure to check out my Hollow Knight review on the channel. It was a lot of fun. I missed a handful of charms in my playthrough, and I know it's not a full tier list. As I play more, I'll definitely come back and update my rankings, which will be a lot of fun. I know a lot of these are probably poorly placed compared to proper players, but I've only played the game once, so definitely give me some slack. I do want to know your guys' favorite charms and which ones you agree with or disagree with that I've listed here. Let me know in the comments down below. And if you guys had a good time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more RPG content. Thank you guys for watching, and have a wonderful and blessed day, and I'll see you guys next video.